Hello and welcome to a turbocharged edition of Auto Today. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Before we set the ball rolling, let's take a look at what's in store for you in this week's episode. The fact of fiction drive with Auto Today crossed 3,000 kilometer mark to reach Shani Shignapur in Maharashtra. The first drive with the latest offering from Maruti Suzuki, the Ignis. And all the latest motor action from the 2017 Detroit Auto Show. Now Maruti Suzuki is calling their latest creation the car for the millennials. My colleagues Yogan and Abhik, they traveled to Chennai, they went to the Maruti Suzuki plant and they drove the Maruti Suzuki Ignis to check the company's claims and whether the car is actually as good as the company claims it is. This is their first impression of the car on the road.
The Maruti Suzuki Ignis was first showcased in 2015 at the Tokyo Motor Show as the IM4 concept. Since then, it has made it to various motor shows around the world. With all that hype built around the car, we were excited to finally drive it.
I'm here in Chennai and with me is the Maruti Suzuki Ignis and my colleague Abhik Das. We will be driving the Ignis, of which we have a petrol manual and a diesel automatic.
The Ignis hasn't deviated from the way it looked as a concept, and that's much appreciated. After all, it is the design that gets your attention first. The Ignis is a very Japanese design. It's quirky, funky, and stands out of the crop of small hatchbacks on Indian roads. The front end incorporates LED DRLs, and we have seen those before, but LED headlamps too? Now that's a first for Maruti, and a first for this segment of cars. The headlamps form a part of the wide and continuous front grille, giving it a contemporary look, while the rear infuses retro cool to this design. 15-inch alloy wheels in black look cool, but wider tires would have looked sportier given the minimal overhangs. The car sits high with 180 mm of ground clearance. Overall, the Ignis comes together as a sporty and fresh-looking car. The interior is as funky as the outside.
The interiors of the car, as you can see, are quite funky, they are quirky, they are not like anything else that we've seen in a Maruti before. The infotainment system, it's the same unit, but it's positioned like a floating tab in front of the dashboard. And even the AC controls panel, this reminds me of a Mini. You know, the quirky feel and the buttons which are also quite different, not like before. There is good storage space here, plus a 12-volt charging point or a cigarette lighter point, and USB aux-in for the infotainment system. The steering has all the controls that one might need, also for telephony, Bluetooth you can connect the phone with. And the instrument panel has a whole lot of information apart from the analog displays for the speed and the RPM. So all in all, it's a loaded car, loaded with features, and the interiors are quite quirky. I like the way that their door handles are of the exterior color. They are metallic, again, you know, touches of Mini. So there are lots of things that have been, I think, picked up from a Mini Fiat 500 kind of a car. The mean seat height is just as much as the Maruti Brezza. So yeah, the Vitara, the SUV, so that means you're sitting quite high up and it's a nice commanding view of the road ahead.
But things are not the same across variants. With maximum features limited only to the top spec Alpha trim, the mid-variants lose out on some of the traits that set this cabin apart.
Major changes from that car would be this floating tablet-like infotainment system, which on this car is a conventional looking unit with all the buttons and knobs. Doesn't really look as special as the other car. And the AC controls are again conventional rotary controls instead of the aircraft style buttons that you've seen, toggle switches in fact, that you've seen on the other car. But apart from this, if you can overlook these two factors, everything else is the same.
The changes to the exterior are limited to regular, reflector type headlamps that replace the more premium LED units, but still don't take away from the design much. The Ignis has ample space to offer within its compact dimensions. It even packs a bigger boot than the Swift. Driving the Ignis will leave you more than impressed. Maruti Suzuki has gone the tried and tested way with a choice of 1.2-litre petrol and 1.3-litre diesel motors on offer. What's more is that auto gear shift options are available on both engines. The petrol engine is refined with no vibrations to speak of, and the manual gearbox shifts positively with solid clicks from gear to gear. The diesel engine, well known for its frugality, definitely feels more responsive at lower RPMs. Maruti claims to have tweaked the AMT transmission to shift quicker, and it showed through as upshifts were more timely and accurate than the AMT-equipped Desire diesel. The Ignis is based on a new platform that makes it safer with more structural rigidity. Dual airbags, ISOFIX child car seats, and ABS feature among the list of safety equipments. The Ignis offers great all-round visibility, and it is easy to get used to the proportions of the car, so it is easy to maneuver around Delhi traffic. The suspension is set up for urban conditions, so they do a good job of absorbing road undulations. We were mostly on fast and straight stretches of highway during the drive, and Ignis felt confident and quick here. The Ignis is aimed at a specific audience rather than mass appeal, and it does a good job of standing apart with unique features and styling that's fresh, young and lively.
See, as far as the driving of the car goes, these are really refined cars, something really special that Maruti has built. But what I'd like to say about the Ignis is that it's a very quirky car. The car should appeal to somebody who wants something different, is looking for some quirkiness. Even the interiors take on that. And overall, the cars are really nice to drive. It's much smoother, and we felt that it is much smoother than
feels like
before.
That, yes.
And overall, I think this is a premium car. They are going to sell it through the Nexa showrooms. So the positioning is very clear, and the price range suggests that.
This week, the Auto Today team on the Uncharted India Fact or Fiction drive crosses the 3,000-kilometer mark and state borders. Let's join them on their journey. Let's take you to a place where faith is considered to be stronger than human nature. Let's now take you to Shani Shignapur.
Here is a recap of what the Uncharted India Fact or Fiction drive has witnessed so far. The lengths people will go to for their faith at the Karni Mata temple in Deshnok, Rajasthan. Next up was testing a question of beliefs at the abandoned town of Kuldhara. And then turning centuries of backwardness on its head, as seen at Piplantri in Rajasthan. Our last leg even showed how the community of Siddhis have stayed together over a century in Jambur. Our next would be the ultimate test of faith in a town called Shani Shignapur in Maharashtra. get there, we would have to backtrack through the Gir National Forest Park area, the last reserve of the Asiatic lion. Unfortunately, even regular visitors to Gir haven't spotted one yet. And judging by the sheer volume of traffic we saw travelling through these narrow roads, even spotting a deer is a tough task. From Ahmedabad, we followed the highway, finally touching Vadodara and Surat before dipping down into Nashik. That also meant we ended up hitting the worst roads since the beginning of the drive under the cover of darkness. With 4 people on board and a boot full of camera equipment, making good time became less important than making sure nothing or no one broke. To its credit, the elite I-20 kept us isolated from the worst of it. There were times when even the fog lamps couldn't help us spot sudden cliff-sized dips. It did help that we were still able to stay around the really bad potholes, even under hard braking. Thank God for the ABS. Incidentally, we were going to be visiting the namesake temple of the god that Hindus pray to in order to ward off evil or misfortune. Shani Shingnapur is a small town in Maharashtra known for its Shani Dev temple that has no walls or roof in the inner sanctum area. It is also known as the town without doors or locks. Obviously, we were more than skeptical. The town is majorly characterized by the temple and the thousands of devotees who visit from far and wide. Villagers believe that the power of Shani keeps them safe from wrongdoing, and it is claimed that even the local bank doesn't have a door and the lockup in the police stations is sans lock. Tough to believe in a time when even our phones have locks that only open with your own fingerprint.
The 5th destination on the Uncharted India drive actually made it to this list for one very simple and one very powerful reason: faith. The people pray to Shani Maharaja over here. As you can hear, there's a temple very close by, and they believe that no wrong can come to them. So much so that none of the houses here, none of the banks, the police station, none of them have doors. And we, of course, this being the Fact or Fiction drive, we're here to find out how true that is. So let's do that.
We did find a few shops that don't have signs of any sort of shutter system. Deeper into town, we came across small houses with narrow doorways and locked doors. We were told, however, that there were 2 houses on the main road that still trusted the inherent goodness of people. These houses have screen curtains to keep prying eyes out. A visit to the bank proved that it most definitely has a locked door, as do the jail cells in the police station, in keeping with government rules. So it turns out that even though Shani Shingnapur is home to the most benevolent Shani, it isn't enough to instill the fear of God in some people. While the legend of the town with no doors was likely true at one point of time, it isn't anymore. Carefully bidding farewell to the malevolent Shani, the Uncharted India drive moves on. Catch the next episode of the Auto Today show to see where our journey takes us.
The North American International Auto Show is better known as the Detroit Auto Show. Some of the cars we're about to show you will end up in India, of course in right-hand version. But let's now take you to America's Auto City and get you the latest.
With its badge's etymology from the Japanese word kanmuri or crown, the Camry has been the best-selling car in America for 14 years running across segments, and Toyota has seen fit to give it a complete redo. In fact, the CEO, Akio Toyoda, involved himself in the process with a focus towards making the new car more expressive. The new 8th generation car is based on the Toyota New Global Architecture or TNGA, first seen underpinning the new Prius. This makes it lower, wider, sleeker and with a longer wheelbase. This means the interiors will be even roomier than before. The cabin has seen a makeover too. A new 10-inch heads-up display is the highlight, as are the intersecting lines making up different layers of the dash. For the first time ever, the Camry gets a multi-link rear suspension which will definitely aid ride and handling. A host of active safety tech is expected to make it to the car, like lane departure assist, collision detect, emergency braking and more. As with the previous generation, we expect only the hybrid version of the car to make it to our showrooms sometime in the coming year. Mercedes-Benz is keeping its crossover game strong. Just 3 years into its life cycle, the GLA gets a facelift. As such, the first crossover SUV from Mercedes gets subtle changes to its exteriors and a few changes to its mechanicals too. First up, an all-new color Canyon Beige. The earlier bi-xenon headlamps are now offered with LED optics as optional. The tail lights get smart tech too, with 3 different intensities depending on ambient light. The grille and bumper get slight tweaking to tie it all together. All this gives the car a slight aerodynamic edge over its predecessor. A new off-road package will lift the suspension by 30 millimeters. We expect Mercedes to offer this as standard on cars sold in India. Of course, the sporty variant, the GLA 45 AMG, gets a host of styling changes too. A new petrol engine in the GLA 220 4MATIC was introduced to the range, but we're not holding our breath to see it here. Ford's first supercar in a decade broke cover at the Detroit show 2 years ago, and this year the GT finally goes into production. The interiors of the car had been shrouded in mystery until now. Like on the new Mustang, the dash has been inspired by fighter jets. Driver focus being the keyword here. So the 10-inch all-digital instrumentation relays information as per the drive mode currently selected. And yes, the driver can select from 5 of them right on the wheel. That's not the only thing either. The headlights, cruise control, Bluetooth audio controls and even windshield wiper controls are right on the wheel. All this to make the steering column free of stocks, so the fixed paddle shifters get pride of place. To refresh your memory, the Ford GT is powered by a 3.5-litre EcoBoost V6 engine that puts out over 600 bhp. It's rumoured that the production car is basically the Le Mans winning car minus the race livery. The original production run of 500 now stands at 1,000. Unfortunately for you, all examples of the $400,000 car or 2.8 crore are spoken for. Revealed for the first time ever, the ID Buzz is Volkswagen's take on the electric future, and it's as un-German as it can get. For inspiration, Volkswagen looked to their past and the very cool and very 60s Volkswagen microbus. Like the original, the ID will provide seating for up to 8 passengers. Unlike the hippie favorite original, it will not run on love and fresh air. Instead, using 2 electric motors with an estimated 369 bhp power output. The all-electric drivetrain is said to have a Tesla Model 3 best in range of 430 km per charge. Onto the fun part, the interiors. There's an augmented reality heads-up display and a touch-sensitive steering wheel. In the autonomous drive mode, the seats swivel to face each other. We really hope Volkswagen makes this one. Audi finally caves in and designs an SUV coupe. The Q8 may only be a concept, but expect these styling cues to make it to future Audi Q SUVs. Starting from the wide single-frame grille to the prominent flaring above the wheel arches and the flat and exceptionally wide C-pillars. Though the 23-inch wheels and the touch-sensitive doors make up a few design elements that probably won't make it to the production car, we hope the Bombay blue color does though. Inside the Q8 goes buttonless, using large touchscreens for everything from climate control to infotainment. Despite the dramatically sloping roofline, the Q8 will offer 4 equally comfortable seats. At the same time, that roofline makes the Q8 look far sportier than Audi's current top-of-the-line SUV in its range, the Q7. Obviously then, the Q8 concept will be looking to compete against the likes of the BMW X6 and the Mercedes GLC Coupe. With Kia planning to enter India soon, the Stinger is one sedan that caught our eyes and imagination. The Korean automaker's first shot at a driver's car, the Stinger has apparently been tuned at the Nürburgring. Though with a longer wheelbase than that of the competition, Kia says the car is more grand touring than sports sedan. The Detroit Motor Show marked the world premiere of BMW's new 5 Series. The Auto Today team has driven the car already and finds it vastly improved on the last generation. The only thing that remains is trying to tell it apart from the 7 Series when the new cars finally hit our roads. Under the Infiniti QX50's sharp sheet metal hides the most interesting thing about it. Its turbocharged engine boasts of variable compression. Among the advantages, Infiniti says this 4-cylinder engine is 27% more efficient than a 6-cylinder of the same power. Volkswagen Atlas is a 7-seater SUV that will bridge the gap between the Tiguan and the much larger and more expensive Touareg in the US market. The Atlas will be made at the firm's manufacturing facility in Tennessee, and it doesn't look likely that we'll see this one in India anytime soon. The long wheelbase variant of the Tiguan is called the Allspace. This 7-seater model is 225 mm longer than the 5-seater model as shown at last year's Auto Expo in Delhi. Though the Tiguan will be brought in as a CBU, it will be powered by the now locally produced 2-litre diesel. This engine also does duty under the hood of the Jetta, Audi A3, Q3 and Skoda Octavia. At the Expo, Volkswagen had told us to expect the Tiguan in 2017. The V-Motion 2.0 concept is the ultimate Nissan design study. The grille is such a big part of the design, it even gets its own name. The V-Motion grille is actually stretched along the entire length of the car.
Well, that is all we have time for in this week's edition of Auto Today. Many thanks for watching. Don't forget to tune in same time next week. Till then, wear your seatbelt, drive safe, don't drink and drive.